Welcome along to episode 4 of the Hong Kong Racing Show, brought to you by Hong Kong Racing North America on X. I'm Andrew Brown alongside Alex Evers. Jockey Umberto Rispoli joins us, and of course, he was riding on California Crown Day at Santa Anita. And Umby, before we talk Hong Kong racing with you, from my perspective, there was a lot of good energy at Santa Anita on Saturday. I think Santa Anita did a great job for California Crown Day. How was it from a jockey's perspective?
Well, I think it was was our first California Crown. We handled pretty well. I think it was well organized for what concerned myself from talking about the racing and everything. With the music going on and off, keeping the horses quiet. I think first did a very great job. Aaron Gryden, he was in charge to make sure that there was no noise when the horses were walking on the track, and everybody, we did an amazing job. And I heard some people, they have a lot of fun with the music up to the crowd, so that's the most important thing. As far as people is happy, I closed the day the best way I could, so that's post perfect.
And that was the last race that the Hong Kong Jockey Club were betting on, the City of Hope Miles Stakes. You're, of course, referring to Johannes, who was an absolute beast. And based on that run on Saturday, how confident are you now heading into the first weekend of November at Del Mar?
Well, Andrew, as I told you in the previous interview we did, I think win or lose, the horse was going to the Breeders' Cup Mile no matter what. Obviously, with a win and you win, you sure, and with such a nice performance, you feel more confident. But it's going to be a different scenario, tiny track, different horses, more tactical race. But that's that's the reason we pointed for the beginning of the year, and I think the horse really deserved to have a chance in the race like that. But as I said, it's always good to be there. It's always to be part of the Breeders' Cup. But we don't know the limits yet of Johannes. So hopefully, then it's gonna be, the sky is gonna be the limit for him. Let's put it that way.
Nice. That's 7 wins from his last 8 starts. You've been on board for all. And I think, Alex, you may have been on board on Saturday as well, were you? Little wager on Johannes?
That's my favorite. That's my favorite horse in training in the United States right now, Johannes. He's gorgeous. He's fun to photograph. He's got a big personality too, with that long forelock and that big mane when he comes back. He's just so full of himself. He's done a good job, and he's got to be the most exciting horse in California running right now. That's for sure, at least to me. You were quiet though, bud. I was expecting like a little smile or something. That was a business like performance. You're like American Zach Purton right there. Just no smile, nothing, just get in the winner's circle.
No, I mean, I think the most important thing was to get the job done. Obviously, Del Mar, it's fun. When you win, you have a celebrate. It's a different environment, different scenario. I was obviously, more concerning about to make everything was going the right direction. So don't blame me if I don't celebrate one time. I really love to celebrate. But as I told you, if it could happen, then we would won the Breeders' Cup. I'm going to give you a big one. Don't worry.
Hey, so that goes into my next question, right? I never ask anybody to do anything. Like, I want the most organic reactions out there. And it's part of what's great about racing, because the highs and the lows are so tough, and it's good to see the emotion come out. When you're out there, like on a big day, so say Breeders' Cup or QE2 on the rulership, do you like plan a celebration before? Like, if everything goes well and this happens, I'm going to do this, and this, or you just let the moment take over and you just go nuts based on how you're feeling that day?
Okay, I have no filters, so I always like to say the truth. The one with the rulership was planning to do it. That one, the rulership was planning to do it.
It doesn't matter. It was so good. It was so good.
It was awesome.
Actually, it worked out pretty well, because the reason why I pointed the horse, it's because a few days before on the media, there was a little bit of tough on him, thinking that he was It wasn't that horse that he could have won the Queen Elizabeth. It was like the fourth, fifth choice on the papers, and I was not really agree with them. I thought that the horse had a better shot, a better chance to win that race. And definitely, he shows on the ground what he could do. So that's the reason why I pointed him going to the crossing the wire. So there was a reason on that celebration.
You've given me some good ones this year, bud. I mean, every year too, but this summer was good.
I always looking for you after the wire. You know that.
I thought that we're talking about rulership, of course, of the QE2 Cup of 2012. And Umbi, I asked you about that win a couple of days ago before the California Crown. You spoke about the hairs standing up on your arms and all that kind of stuff when you reflect on it. But that post-race celebration with you pointing at the horse and everything, I don't know if you guys remember James McDonald after Romantic Warrior won a couple of races ago too. It was almost identical. I think we might have to ask our editor to split the screen and do them. But James McDonald pointing, and the first thing I thought about was like, he got that from Umberto.
But I got that celebration from Christophe Soumillon and Zarkawa. That's what I got that celebration. Because I think it's when she won the arc. Chris crossed the wire, and she won the arc like you don't even touch her with a whip. She was absolutely one of the best racehorses I've ever seen in my life. One of the best.
Right.
Turn a foot on a mile and a half like that, unbelievable. So that's why I think that celebration comes out. Like you know that you're going fast. You know how good the horse is. So that's the reason why I say, what about this? That's probably the reason why Christophe did that celebration. So I use it a few years later. Few years later.
The first Breeders' Cup in 2005 that I was at, he won on Scirocco, and I was shooting up on the roof, so I wasn't down low. But when he stood up and he was doing the windmill and he just kept going and going, I was like, oh my God, if I was down low, how great would those photos have been? But I'll never forget that. He's great. He's real good.
No, he's very good in celebration. He's very good. Him, Frank is very good. Obviously, English rider, they are no, they never celebrate. I think that's a part of the racing school. Probably they teach you to don't celebrate. But a few riders, I can see them. They celebrate. William start to celebrate. Ryan never celebrate. I love Ryan because he's like a kid in fellow. He crossed the wire, he grabbed the horse and give a pat on the shoulder, and that's it.
I've embraced it more.
That's classy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it's
that's classy.
Just like it just holds them up together. It looks good, and it pisses the other photographers off. I like it.
Well, as Italian, you have to celebrate. I mean, when your idol is Frankie, you have to celebrate. You can't hold yourself. You cannot do it.
What was it like the first time you rode with Frankie?
The first time I rode with a Frankie was in Italy long time ago. And he beat me in a grade 3. He beat me in a grade T. He beat me in a grade 1. But my first grade 1, I beat Frankie. Oh. That was my first grade 1 in Italy. I beat Frankie. Yes.
That was the greatest feeling.
Do you remember the race?
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, it was the Lidia Tesio. Was my first grade 1, 2010. I think was it 2010. That was my first grade 1.
And the horse name?
Oifalen. That's the name. The spelling it's really weird, but that's the right pronunciation. So that's how you pronounce pretty well. That's how you pronounce well. It's Oifalen, but the spell it's really weird.
What did Frankie say to you after the race?
I remember going to cross the last 20, 30 yards. I figured it out. I won it. I won it by 3 or 4 lengths. I passed Frankie. Like when I passed Frankie the last 100, so I started to realize that was my first grade 1 was coming. So which I was beaten already 2 times in the Italian Derby, running second. I was beaten by Frankie a few times in the other grade 1, and looks like it was like a malediction for me never to wait so long for one of my first grade 1. And I do remember when I pulled up, Frankie just come right after me. He gave me a pat on the ass and he say, "Now go back and enjoy." That's his words. I remember that.
Good.
That is good. That's awesome.
When you're getting started out, did you have the maroon socks like Frankie?
No, no. I mean, when you start your career, you want the goggle, the socks, the gloves, everything has to be, for each race has to be the same. Like you want to go out like a gallop racer jockey, everything at the same color. I lose, obviously, getting old after 19 years, no, I don't like to wear socks because my calves are very big, so I feel really tight in there. But I like my elastic on the breeches. I like the black one. I like it, just simple black.
It looks clean.
Yeah.
It's a question I'm going to ask every jockey we have on, because when I played hockey, it's all about the style and how you wear your gear. Like the guys that pull the sleeves up in Hong Kong, I think that looks so cool in photos.
Neil Callan. That was the first one. Neil was the first one. Was the first one.
Ryan does it too a bunch now, especially when he's in the United States.
Ryan as well. Yeah. Ryan does
awesome.
as well. Because over there you got the elastic at the end. They are not, the silks are not like here in the United States. You get there's a speed silks that are very good. They fit you very well. And even for the heat, it's pretty good. Over there, obviously, I think you have the Hayland, right? That's the Australian brand. Yeah, I think it's a Hayland silks, and you got the elastic at the end. But once you go down to the gate, as the sleeves are very long, even with the elastic, they drop. So that's the reason why everybody they bring just right up here, half arms.
Gotcha, right. But
that's the reason.
Talking about other jockeys and riding against other jockeys, and in particular during your time in Hong Kong, you were riding against a colony of like phenomenal jockeys at the time, right? Like Douglas White, Brett Preble, Darren Beedman was there around that time, and of course we have to mention Zach Purton, who is still there and now what?
Don't forget my father-in-law and Olivier Delos, because after they're gonna kick my ass. So better you mention
it. So when you think about Zach now, who's all these years later on the cusp of becoming the most winningest jockey in history in Hong Kong, he's chasing an 8th jockey championship. Where does he rank, Zach Purton, in terms of jockeys you've ridden against all around the world?
To be honest with you, Zach, for me, is a rider that he can ride everywhere around the world, everywhere. If I have to do a top 10 of jockeys that I ride with and in the world, Zach for sure is in 100%.
Yeah.
To me, he's a very smart rider. He knows what he's riding. I used to call him Iceman. I never see him panic. Never.
Right.
Never. You can see Zach is in the middle of the pack. Obviously, it's a guy then. It's a rider that he really doesn't show his emotion, like if he's in trouble or not. He has a good hands. He has very good hands. You can see his horses; they're always very relaxed for him. He has a good balance on the horse. Of course, we have to say the truth. He's riding the best horses. Most of the time he's on the favorite, and 85, 90% of the time, Hong Kong the favorite, you don't beat him. But I think Zach, when my first 2012, Zach wasn't at the top of the table. Douglas is still the god over there.
Yeah.
But there was this transition from, Brett obviously was there. Gerald, Felix Cozzi comes in town. Weisham Margwin was there. Appen, Kieran Fallon coming in and out of town. I mean, there was the roster of jockey was one of the toughest I ever. And believe me, I do really learn a lot with those riders around me, because you better sharp, otherwise you lost your spot. So I'm glad that then I spent a part of my Hong Kong journey with those guys. But as I said, we could see that Zach was going to get is a spot in Hong Kong. As a Joe, once a Joe came in as well, it was a nice challenge between them. Yeah. I never see Joe and Zach in the jocks room fighting each other. Never. Okay. Never. No, even they don't have an argument. Never. Sometimes there was just talking about, but people from outside, they make this rivalry between them, which never existed. Obviously, they were two top riders at that time. But there was a full respect between them, full respect between them. And I can say, the same well for Joe Moreira. Is one of the best rider I ever meet in my whole life. So I'm lucky. I'm lucky because from those guys you really learn a lot. And as I said, Zach, I have funny things to tell you. One time happened to me. Then I went to an owner dinner, and this owner had a few other friends. Then they had the horses. So I remember this old man come up to me and speaking barely English, and he come up to me and say, "Do you know why Jack Burton is better than everybody of you guys?" And I said, "No, tell me. I want to know." Because he's talking to the horses. You guys, you don't talk to the horses. I know Zach speak with the horses. You can see that he's talking to the horses. I said, okay, you know what? Tomorrow morning I start to do that as well. It might gonna work. So just to make you understand how people believe and think how Zach could be is good in Hong Kong, So, but definitely top rider, top class rider, world class rider.
Would he be someone that when you're riding against him in a race that you'd almost like look to get on the back of or want to know where he is because it could potentially give you a good path into a race?
Oh, he's one of them. I mean, he's one of them. Obviously, when you ride in Hong Kong, it's everything is handicap system. So obviously, if sometimes you got three wide with no cover, it's gonna be tough in Hong Kong. You can do that everywhere in the world. You can't do that in Hong Kong. Obviously, if you carry 133, the horse inside of you they carry 113, 115. It looks like silly, but it's not. I mean, the Hong Kong system is like that. The weight it's very important. It's not about to save the ground. It's like the best position you can get out of the gate. And sometimes, there is you look at the speed map, you think that a few horses, they're going to go crazy in front. You know already where you go to sit. But yeah, I mean, Zach obviously, was one of the rider that you're looking for, almost a Happy Valley. He's so good at Happy Valley. He's very, very good. I mean, it's not that he's not good at Shatin as well, but I think Happy Valley has something different than everybody else.
How challenging is it to ride at Happy Valley?
It is.
It looks it. It's hard to bet it, man.
Exactly. It's challenging.
Well, obviously, when the rail is out to C+3, that's the day then it's a suspension training. Most of the riders, they get suspension when it's a C+3. Because obviously the track will become more tight, so you want to try to get the best spot possible. But at the same time, it's a track that even when the rail is out, you can still come from all the way back. It's a fair track. It's a very fair track, but it's a particular, it's not common track, Happy Valley. You got the downhill and then the uphill on the backside to get a nice, you should get a nice spot before you turn for home. But you can win from the inside, from outside, from wherever.
I don't think people watching on TV, especially when you're watching the broadcast, can really tell like the undulation of Happy Valley on that backside. Like it's a pretty steep downward climb and then an upward to the turn up to the 650-ish. It's I go walk it and I'm like, man, this is actually the way the cameras work. You just really can't tell on TV, but it is pretty aggressive.
It's fun because if you see like the end of the backstretch, if you're laying down and you try to get a shot, you can see that there is the slope going right down, and you can see like it's really deep. Like, and imagine when the horses they start a 5 furlong race, and you start like going down. Man, you go fast. You really go fast.
What do you miss about Hong Kong racing, Umberto, and living there in Hong Kong?
What I miss about Hong Kong, well, it's a few things I miss about Hong Kong. One thing is the food. That's what I miss.
Yeah. So good.
I think people most of the time they think that in Hong Kong, what they eat. I mean, Hong Kong Hong Kong is good because it's international, so you can have everything you want. About racing, obviously the competition. It's you always like your full speed every time you are in Hong Kong. You can't relax because obviously even when you go back home after the races, you have to watch the replay. During the day you mark down the horses, then you think they're going to win the next time, so right away you have to text the trainer and asking him for the next time. I mean, you have to do your agent job,
Yeah.
Obviously, the facilities the jockey clubs gives to you, that's probably the most important thing for the rider. Once you get there, you got accommodation, the car, the insurance, the facilities. That's where probably you don't find this everywhere in the world except Hong Kong.
Yeah. Would you like to get back there one day? Is something that when you spent so much of your career there and were very successful there, would you ever go back?
Look, I always said, when I left, I thought then I left for good. Obviously, it was a tough time for me. It was very tough.
Yeah.
But what I can say is I always respect my contract. I even skipped a Breeders' Cup at 2019 at Santa Anita, because obviously, if I would have grabbed my stuff and run away, it wouldn't look good. So I quit my term contract. I give them a month notice. Then I was leaving, and I do stay two more weeks, because they couldn't find a rider. So it was fair for me to help them at that time. To once they get another rider, I could have left. So it's a special place for me because, as I say, Andrew, I spend most of I know probably Hong Kong better than Italy, for sure. So for me, it's like my second home. And obviously the people, the friends I left over there, I still in contact with a few trainers, with the riders. It's a place that is a special. My first child, it grows like his first 3 years over there, so there is a lot of memories over there. And as I said, once you left Hong Kong, you never left Hong Kong forever. You always wish to go back one day. And I'm still 36, so even for a winter, if I might considering to go back one day for sure.
Are the boys asking about riding with Grandpa yet? Stories about Gerard?
Yeah, Aiden actually a few times he mentioned it about it, and most of the time when we watch some replays of Hong Kong racing, he goes, "Oh, Dad, this is a Grandpa," because he recognized him with the white gloves, so he figured it out who is a Gerald right away. I say, this is me. This is I say, oh. And then a few races, then we were close with the Gerald. He always asks me, say, "Dad, do you think it's better, you or Grandpa?" I always say me, but I know that Gerald is better than me. So. I can't tell him Gerald is better than me, but I know that Gerald is way better than me.
I'll never forget his ride on Americane in the Melbourne Cup. Just outstanding. God, that was a good day. Alex, I think I told Umby that we were going to be 10 minutes with him. So I think we should wrap things up. Have you got one more question?
Ooh. What? I don't know. I think I got it. I think that's everything. I don't want to hold you up anymore. We can start talking about racing.
I'm okay. If you guys have a few questions, just go for it.
I mean, we'll start talking about video games and Warzone and Gallop Racer and Champion Jockey. I mean, I could hold you all day. No, thank you for your time, brother. I appreciate it. We'll have you back on.
For sure. I mean, hopefully for the international racing, that would be great.
That would be really cool. And speaking of international racing, I think I've now got this dream one day of perhaps seeing a photo that Alex has taken of Umby winning a Group 1 race at Sha Tin. Can we manifest this? I think it might happen in the future.
We need to find the horse first.
We got to find the horse first. You think anything? How hard would it be for somebody to come out of the United States and go over and win over there right now? So let's say like the mile division.
I think Johannes can win that division.
Right.
I mean, obviously, you take the king away, the king is gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. The king is gone. King is gone, but you have Beauty Joy, Beauty Eternal. That's the two horses. But Beauty Joy is going to be 7 on 8. You have a Voyage Bubble. Behind those, California Spangle, too far probably, right?
Yeah. Galaxy Patch is the only one right now.
Galaxy Patch, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's, of course, even when the Japanese, they have a scare about Golden 60, you can't jump on the plane from United States to go on a different environment, on a different scenario of racing, and go right hand. Obviously in America we go left hand, and Johannes has been running all his career going left handed. But I don't think he would have any problem to adjust himself for shotting. I mean, it's a fair track, it's a flat track. It looks like, I was telling Andrew the other day, it looks like more Santa Anita, but go on the opposite way.
Yeah.
So the time then Johannes have here, crossing the wire 132, 133, 132. Obviously, you watch Golden 60 being 132 a few times, he been 134, but I think it's a different way to clock him, probably. It was a funny because 2 days ago I was watching the last Hong Kong mile, then Golden 61. I don't think I haven't seen any turn of foot like that in my life.
That was
Never.
phenomenal.
It was one of the best performances
Unreal.
I've ever seen in my life in person. It was insane.
No, but that's, and actually when you see then when they passed the 300, Vincent, like, he just pressed on the button. It looks like it was to be like this. He just went low, put the heels back, and boom, like a rocket.
Yeah.
You don't see many of those. I mean, with Golden 60 being he was a, you know what? I would wish that I could see him going Dubai, or just to prove that he was really the best in the world. But I mean, obviously with that performance, you have to say he's the best. He was the best in the world for the last couple of years.
He ended up at least beating a lot of horses that then went on and won overseas, I guess. Romantic Warrior and California Spangle, and I mean, he is just
Beauty Generation was just right before him, and then he came in.
The one year he beat a Meyer Mars too with Beauty Generation in that field. There were some serious horses at that time, especially at the beginning of the run. Yeah, Johannes,
no, for sure. After yeah, go ahead.
Oh, he had a bit of a turn of foot like that on Saturday. You guys hit the front pretty quick there. From when you asked him to go off the turn, it was impressive.
I actually, it's always, for me, I have to always leave him a target in front of him, because it's a kind of horse that he go to catch you the last horse in a few strides, and then after he start to pull up himself, it's just not because he thinks the job is done. That's okay. I do this, but I can tell you then around the turn when I went inside of Astronomer, I want to make sure, obviously, nobody comes outside and try to trap me on the fence, which I think, when you have such a horse underneath, you can do everything you want. So I would even probably wait and go inside of Hector, because conclude he's a kind of horse that he likes to drift out a little bit. So the rail would be open, but I don't think it was at the right time to take any risk. When you have a better horse, it just came around. Even if I like to save the ground for sure, but but that there is a momentum. You watch from the half turn to the top of the stretch, the speed, how he pick it up around the turn. It's unbelievable. It's like you press on a button and he just go. Hopefully then this is gonna happen at Del Mar too, and after it's by the owner, by team, what they're gonna decide to do with the horse. I'm so glad that then I'd be part of this horse. But I do remember then when I break his maiden, if you go back, you watch his maiden, a 6 furlong, you see that turn of foot from the top of the stretch crossing the wire. You look at the time, it was impressive.
Yeah.
The track was wet that day. I feel it right away. I was on a serious horse. I feel it right away, and so I was trying to keep myself calm, relax, and, just to try to not have high hopes, but I could feel it. It was something different there, for sure.
You got the right trainer. If you ever decide to go to Hong Kong, Tim was with Golden Pheasant when he went to the Japan Cup. He was over there with him when he was assisting for Charlie Whittingham. So got some international experience. I love that team.
No, and I don't remember actually last time. Probably last time I see an American horse going to Hong Kong was a Little Mike when he ran in the Vase. That's probably was the last time I see an American horse go to Hong Kong. Obviously, most of the American trainers are concerned, as I said, because of the turns. I mean, you turn the right hand, but if you have a smart horse like him, you're training him for a couple of weeks over there on the track, he will figure it out right away. Champions horses, I mean, good horses, they adjust themselves. They can go both ways.
What about another horse that you're riding at the moment in terms of international potential, and another trainer that has success overseas too, Leonard Powell, Anisette. Like, she's amazing.
Oh yeah, I mean she's a very good. She's a good filly. Obviously, we got beat last time. It can happen. You can't win every races, but obviously she always, like Johannes, she always been in California. The only time Johannes went to Churchill, he got beat, but not because his fault. It wasn't my fault. It was his fault. He wouldn't get beat that day if I would have given him a good ride. But you know, for Anisette, she's going to run in the Breeders' Cup. It's going to be a good test, to see how good you are. And same for Johannes. Most of the time it's a difficult because, you've been on the other coast and, you say, okay, I can win this race here. Why I should ship going over there? Most reasonable thing is, okay, we have a Breeders' Cup home, so we prepare on the track where we're going to race a Breeders' Cup. So like this, the horses, they already know where they are. And she's been phenomenal. I mean, like, such a consistent filly, good turn of foot. Aaron and Leo, they decide to give her some time off, and works pretty well last year. She come back more smarter than what she was. She built up a little bit. She growing as well. But when the Breeders' Cups comes, you always have to be worry about who's going to ship from Europe, because once you go on the dirt, Americans is a big advantage. But on the grass, when Mr. O'Brien, Mr. Gosden, all those good trainers, Mr. Faber, they ship horses in, it's a different story.
Yeah, for sure.
How important at riding Del Mar is kind of sitting on the fence and getting a good trip instead of going 4 and 5 wide on that turf course? It seems like a lot of times if somebody gets through on the inside and saves the ground and the horse has a turn of foot, they almost always win from down on the fence.
No, absolutely. You're right, Alex. If I'm already on 3 wide at Del Mar, I'm already upset because most of the time I think, it's very important to stay on the fence. It's in Del Mar, especially in Del Mar. There is, the turns really helps you, even if you stay inside and you think you're going to lose some ground, somebody's going to make a right move on top of you. You might still have the chance to go and catch them. Obviously, when the rallies are 30 feet out, okay, you can stay outside, no problem. But when the rallies are down, obviously to stay inside the Del Mar, it's very important. It's very important. Sometimes it doesn't open. Amen. It's horse racing. You always try to give the horse the best shot you can. But if you look at me at Del Mar, I'm always not far away from the fence.
Yep.
Myself and they make some jokes about myself and Berrios because they said then we like the rail too much. So they say somebody thinks then we sleep with the rail next to the bed at night.
And the Hong Kong racing audience are certainly going to get to see a taste of that when they're watching a few Breeders' Cup races coming up in a few weeks' time. Umbi, I think the Hong Kong Jockey Club betting on a number of Breeders' Cup races, which is good, following up on betting on the Pacific Classic Day card and also the California Classic Day card, which is California Crown Day card as well. As I said before, I think I told you on text message before we did this that we were going to be 10 minutes. I think we're going up to close to an hour now. I'm so sorry. But we just want to thank you so much for all your time, Umbi. It's been outstanding having you on the show. We'll get you back on for International Week if you're up for it.
I wish I'm going to be in Hong Kong, so I'm going to talk to you from over there, hopefully.
Well, hopefully
talk to Tim.
Yeah.
So maybe Alex is going to be there too. So we're going to make an interview over there directly. Who knows?
Let's just do the show from there, shall we? We'll talk to the guys over there. We'll organize it.
For sure, we'll be better. Well, let's go through Breeders' Cup. That's the most important thing first, and then we decide what to do.
Absolutely. No, thanks so much for your time. Look forward to following your rides on Breeders' Cup Day and the Hong Kong Jockey Club when they're wagering on those days in a few weeks' time. Thanks, Umbi.
Thank you, guys.
Our thanks to our special guest, Umberto Rispoli there. What a fantastic interview that was. It was great to have him on the show. Before we go, we're going to leave you with hopefully a couple of winners at Sha Tin, Saturday night, North American time, Sunday over there in Sha Tin. We're going to take a look now at race 10, the feature race on the card, the Nam Long Shan Handicap. And Alex, this looks like a pretty interesting race. Some classic series horses here from last season. Lots of first time on the dirt, and there's a couple of horses by American sires in this field as well. Which way are you leaning?
It's an interesting race because there looks to be a lot of speed in this race, and you've got Kaiying Generation coming out of the Classic Series last year. He'd gone forward. Everything looks like he wants to go forward. In the past, I've been burned on Adafil where there wasn't enough pace in the race, but I'm going to end up going back to him where he should be able to have a good enough pace. Karras knows him well. He should be able to sit and rally. So that's what I'm going to go with in the 10th. But it's a super interesting race because you've got at the top of the table, you've got Moments in Time, who loves a little bit longer distance, it looks like, as well as Kaiying Generation, but he's looking at Lucky. And then you've got Sword Point from the Classic Series 2 years ago, son of American Pharaoh. He's trying the dirt for the first time. So a lot of horses trying the dirt for the first time, but I'm going to go with the tried and true Adafil, son of D-Field, who's won over this all-weather track here at Shah-Tin before.
I like Adafil, but just to be a little bit different, I'm going to roll the dice with Kaiying Generation. First time dirt, as you said, but has had some experience back in the UK on the poly, which might translate onto the dirt. We won't know until Saturday night. But the fact that Zach Purton goes on has got to be a positive there. So I'm going to go with number 9 Kaiying Generation, but I think I'll box him up in an exacta with yours, number 5 Adafil. What about a best bet for Saturday night at Shah-Tin, Alex?
Another race that looks like there's a little bit of pace, but I'm going to go with the Francis Liu horse, Devano, son of Brave Smash. He also gets Purton, but he was progressive type last year. He'd run 2 great races where he won, was second to bottom up together, if I remember correctly. So he might be a little short in the race, but he's one that I'm going to look for. If he's not too short, I'm going to have a bet on him as well.
All right. And speaking of Purton, that's where I'm going with my best bet.
Can't go wrong.
Fast Network, I mentioned him before, the Dennis Yip trainee, returning this weekend. And I think Fast Network's going to be very tough to beat. Probably be pretty short too, but we'll see how he goes if he can keep his unbeaten record alive.
So over under on wins for Purton on the weekend. Are we going to go 2.5? You going to go over? Or are you going to go under?
I think I'll go the overs. I was going to set the line at 3.5. So yeah, I'm on the overs if it's 2.5.
We'll be looking for it.
Sorry, go on.
Well, he's been riding really well. We'll be looking forward to seeing what happens out there this weekend.
Absolutely. It was another great show. Episode 4 of the Hong Kong Racing Show now in the books. Alex, thanks again for your time. We'll see you again next week before you take off to Italy for a week, which is very exciting. You should have got some Italian lessons off Umberto when he was on, but maybe you can talk to him at Santa Anita this weekend. But thank you to everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next week on the Hong Kong Racing Show, brought to you by Hong Kong Racing North America on X.